Hello, Beachies. Welcome to the Beachpreneurs virtual table topics for August. We are so excited to be here. I'm Kelly McCausey.
I'm Nicole Dean.
We're joined by the awesome Therese Sparkins. Hi, Therese.
Hello, everyone.
Hello,
hello. Hello.
It is a freak of nature that we do not all live in the same place.
Something went wrong somewhere.
Yeah.
There was a little hiccup, I believe, in the universe.
But man, I love getting together with you guys. So welcome to those of you who are with us live and those of you who are going to be with us in a time-shifted fashion.
That's so Doctor Who. I love it. Every time you say that, I'm like, time shifted. That's so fancy.
Watching the replays. I love podcasting and replays so much. You know, many years ago, I decided I'm just not going to think of it as any different. The experiences feel the same to me if I were watching this as a replay. I just wouldn't be able to comment at you. But you can always do that some other way. Call me.
Call me.
Text Nicole.
Me. I'm not
I actually love being on the phone, which makes me different from most of my friends who don't. Which makes me wonder how we're friends. But they're willing to speak my phone love language now and then. So, Therese Sparkins, you're an executive coach. You're a facilitator of radical leadership retreats. You do so much good in the world. What do you want us to know about you?
Ooh. Broad picture, like who I am, my me. There's a couple of things. I love that I'm often known as a teller of truths or a speaker of BS, as well as a lover of people. I am well known for my snuggling abilities and my love of snuggling. So if you get to know me or you're in my same space at some point in time, beware. You will most likely be snuggled. And it's because I so love people from the bottom of my heart, whether I've known you for 5 minutes or I've known you for 10 years. I already know that I love you. So I have an amazing husband known as Bob the Teacher, or Therese's other half. Don't tell him I said that. And then I have 2 sweet little kids. Kira will be turning 3 in this month or end of this month. It's August. You just have to keep reminding me. And then I have a 1-year-old. So we have had some fun together as a family. And this whole last month has been like the craziest month of my entire life. So that's me.
When I Googled, or when I searched, I tried to tag you on Twitter, and when I searched your name, the only thing that came up was that you had been struck by lightning.
Really? Oh, because Sparkins?
Sparkins.
Yes, because we just changed. We just changed our last name to Sparkins, right? The joke is last year that we changed our last name to Sparkins, and on July 1st, our house was struck by lightning. Not sort of, maybe I was somewhere in the house. It was about 10 feet from my head, and burning debris flew on me, and the house started on fire. So the guy that was doing the news anchor part, he's like, so the Sparkins were hit by the lightning last night, and he's like, get it? That's their real name. He could not mention that our last name was Sparkins. We were asking for it. So there you go. But yeah, that was sort of how our month kicked off, and it's been wild ever since. Yeah, I have And I'm not on Twitter very much.
Well, I was just stating, you said you had a wild month, and I'm like, could it have to do with that?
That, yeah, that started it. So I'll share my month with you because I feel like it sets up a bit of a context for one of the biggest pieces that I want to share. So we started off with a lightning strike, which was crazy. And then I was getting ready to go to People Power in Michigan. And about 2 days before I left, Bob and I moved down to the guest bedroom because of the lightning strike, and it was our master bedroom is blown apart. We moved down to the guest bedroom, so we're showering downstairs, and Bob goes downstairs and our water heater broke and flooded the basement. So I was like, oh my goodness. Now the good news is from the lightning strike, my kids are okay. We're okay. Like when 5 minutes after it happened, it felt like this is small potatoes. It's not a big deal. And then the water heater breaking felt like, oh, this could be a big deal. And then 5 minutes later, it was like, this is not a big deal because we were downstairs in quick enough time to sort of catch it before all of the water in the world ended up in the basement because we happened to be downstairs from the lightning strike. And then also mid this month, Bob got diagnosed with cancer, and he what happened was he was in he had this like inflammation on his back. So he went into the dermatologist to get it checked out, and the dermatologist said, this is fine. It's just some inflammation, but I'm a little concerned about this spot here, which was like the size of a thumb. And so he checked it out, and sure enough, it was melanoma. And then, so within a week, Bob had gone in and had the surgery to remove it. And then they sent it out and said, and everything tested clear on the edges of what they took out. So now, like it seems weird to say it, but Bob is now cancer-free, within a few months or weeks of hitting, it was like, this could be a big deal. But at the same time, gosh, best case scenario when for getting melanoma, because it goes from like, stage 0 or stage 1 to like, boom, it's everywhere. Yeah. And so because he went in for the inflammation, he ended up getting caught super early and handled really quickly and easily. So that's been our month so far. And now finally the contractors are starting to work on the house. So if you hear some like banging in the background, it's because there's like, my house is a revolving door in this moment. So that's me and who I am. I've been facilitating radical leadership since 2006. Is that true? 2008 was my very first facilitation. 2006 was when I first attended, and have delivered and coached and been doing all that for now going on over 10 years, right? I'm like, just feels so bizarre to say it. But it has transformed my life and how I create my life. And I believe in the process, a lot of those that I love around me and people that I had never met before, now create their lives more powerfully as a result. Okay, now what?
Yeah. You had a month.
It was a month.
What I admire so much about you, Therese, what I'm inspired by is that when life does present you with challenges, big old lightning strike, cancer, earlier this year, in the past, since your baby was born, Lando has a really rare allergy issue that scared us all. Mm-hmm. In the process, and yet never at any point in time did I see you implode or explode or change who you are and what you want to bring to the world. And so I just have a question about that. Like, do you realize that how you showed up to others never changed in the midst of all that?
I don't know that I think about that in the moment. But looking back on it, I can certainly see, for me, first and foremost, I believe in God. And in the context of how that shows up inside of radical leadership, we always talk about the two different parts of ourselves, ego and essence, right? And essence is this part of us that is so inspiring. I believe it's my reflection of God in the world, right? When I can get away from my patterns and who I am enough that is who I become. I am a creator. And I get to rest in all is well. Regardless of the bananas that's happening everywhere, regardless of the politics that are happening everywhere, or even a lightning strike, my essence is at rest. And so I feel like I can stand among the chaos, and by prayer, my belief in God, and then awareness, always just looking with awareness and going, so in this moment, what do I want to choose? Because in every given moment, I'm creating my own experience. And that's regardless of what the circumstances are. So I don't know that I consciously look and go, how am I going to impact others if I show up this way? But I know selfishly how I want to experience the world. And it feels so much more life-giving to me to feel at peace and at ease and calm, no matter what bananas is happening. Yeah, that for me is the biggest part of radical leadership. We always kick off radical leadership with awareness, right? Awareness is simply stopping and looking at things in new ways that you've never looked at them before, or just becoming an investigator and not having judgment around it. And so for me, when the lightning struck, it sort of is this like manufactured opportunity of for me to really bump up against stuff and stop and look in new ways, right? Because I've never experienced lightning strikes. So now what?
Can't say that again.
Where do we go from here? So side note, it's kind of bizarre because my house is at the bottom of a hill and I have several trees that are a lot taller than my house. And so it like zipped through the tree line and hit the corner of the house. And so everybody that comes up is like, I don't quite understand how that happened. And then the ceiling person who's repairing the ceiling in there the other day goes, wouldn't it be nuts if like it hit again? And I'm like, yeah, I think then I'd move. I'd be out. That's enough for me. But yeah, so.
I just admire you. I feel like so much of my life in the past has been moving from thing to gripe about to thing to gripe about to thing to gripe about. And there was a point in my life where somebody pointed that out lovingly. You probably like her. That just asked me if I noticed that my conversation was filled with complaining. And of course I was offended. But then it was like, wow, it is so true. I literally have no conversations that don't involve complaining. And that was the first time in my life. I was almost 30. First time in my life that it occurred to me that other people's conversations are not full of complaints. But so even though I lean away from complaining as like my totality of existence, I know I still do it a lot. And I just so rarely, I don't hear you complain. I might hear you say, this happened. But then it's done. It's like, just letting you know where I'm coming from today.
That's, I do think that's important as well. Cause I went from one place of, I like you, love to complain about a lot of things. And the minute I recognized Another tool that we use inside of Radical Leadership is the trickster, right? And you might have known it by other voices or names like the monkey mind or the inner critic or whatever you have a name for it. We call it the trickster because we believe its job is into tricking us to believing that what it's saying is true. And so that trickster will get in and say like, I'm really bored. I need to go spin a plate. I want to go create some drama over here. Because what happens is that drama, that complaint creates a false sense of aliveness, right? It's and one of my favorite quotes is, we are such sophisticated beings that if we don't know how to get what we want legitimately, we'll find a way to get it illegitimately. So even if you want attention, right? I want attention and affection from somebody. If I don't know how to just go create legitimate relationship, I'll go create some drama, because then I get attention and I feel like I get people paying attention and listening to me, right? And so the good news about awareness is it comes with grace. So there's no judgment in that, no bad, can't believe you did that in that, but just, oh, that creates one experience for myself and for others. And is that what I want to be creating? And so not necessarily. And while at the same time, I don't just slap a smile on it and pretend like everything is happy and hunky-dory when internally I'm struggling and frustrated. So if there's the first couple of days it happened, I was like, dude, my house just got hit by lightning. And I didn't quite know how to process it, but other than leaning into my community, right? Sharing it and letting it out of my body instead of like, let's just bottle it up and pretend like I'm happy. Cause I feel like down the road, that'd come back to bite me in the butt somewhere.
Yeah. That's one thing that I was going to say about this. It's not like you don't get upset. It's not like you don't ever lose it. You just don't choose to stay there. And that's how I see it anyway. And that's what, I don't want to speak for you, but that's how I perceive it. And that's one thing that I admire is that, yeah, bad stuff happens. Yeah, you feel it. You're not Pollyanna. You go through it and then you're like, okay, I'm not going to sit here, and you move on. You handle things with grace, like Kelly said, which I love about you.
Aww,
I always watch and I'm like, I want to do that more. I want what she's having.
Hence, I want what you're having. Yes. It feels so good and authentic, right? I feel very in alignment with myself. Like I'm never trying to lie to me, and I'm never trying to pretend that I'm something that I'm not. So my hope is that anytime somebody meets me on the street, they feel like they meet the same person they would meet speaking on stage. They feel like the same person that they'd meet on a coaching call with me, so that I am who I am everywhere I go. And gosh, I mean, without being arrogant, I love my life. Like I feel so incredibly blessed in my life. And so I hope that the way that I live supports other people in going, yep, I'm moving that direction, not like to have their life look like mine, but their own version of what peace, happiness, and all is well looks like for them from their essence. And by the way, Kelly and Nicole, I do the same thing to you ladies. I look over and I go, I want what they're having. And I see you guys do a lot of recalibration in the moment, feeling like stuff hits the fan and you just move with it, right? You create with it instead of struggling against it. So I admire both of you. And that's what has me just be like, these are my besties. I can't wait to hang out with the beachies today.
Yeah, except, Therese did mention she's a snuggler. So I wasn't quite sure what to make of that at first, so I would set an alarm real early and wake up and brush my teeth just in case she crawled into bed with me. every night I would set my alarm. I'm like, okay, wake up at 6:30, brush my teeth, climb back in bed, and then wait.
Have you ever been snuggled by me without your teeth brushed?
Probably.
Because if you haven't, it is my goal in life to snuggle you. Here's what I love about it. Like snuggling is physical intimacy, right? Snuggling is physical intimacy, and I risk myself when I crawl into bed with somebody, because I could be rejected. You know, they could be like, "Ew, get out of here," and then my work is to, like, how do I not take that personally and just love and let them want what they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my heart with snuggling is unconditional love. Like, give me your morning breath, give me your messy hair, give me all of it, because I want all of it.
It's like the Statue of Liberty. I'm picturing you with the
yes, bring me your morning breath. Yes. However, I will say, if you find yourself in a space with me and I'm going to snuggle you as a courtesy, because people have not made the same contract or commitment that I have, I do brush my teeth before I crawl in bed, because they didn't say, please, I'd love to have you come stink up my bedroom.
So yes, in the years since, I think you've probably snuggled me stinky.
Oh, good. I mean, I wouldn't even notice, to be honest. I'm too busy loving.
What happened at the beach house? And that was one of the, actually, you know, I was like, at first I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so, like, I was like, uncomfortable, like, I don't know what to make of this. And then I was like, isn't Therese just brave? Because that's just so brave to just love people that you just met in the beach house and just be like, I'm going to hug you, I'm going to love you. And I'm like, who is this?
Gosh, I feel so blessed. I feel so blessed I get to do that in places where they don't throw me in the slammer for it.
It's so cool to see how people react to it. At People Power, you know, you did some snuggling. I think we had one holdout.
Mm-hmm.
And I make up, well, she did say, she's like, do People Power in Sedona and I'll be open to snuggling. It's like, hey, that could happen.
Right.
But what I saw happen was from day one, same thing happens at the beach house, that moment where you announce it, like the I love to snuggle. Some of the room is like, oh, yay. And some of the room is like, what the hell? Like looking at Nicole and I'm like, seriously? But you see them as the days go by, get warmed up to it. Whether they ever say yes or not is not the issue. It created a question for me of, do I want to be snuggled? You know, can I let somebody snuggle me?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was an invitation that I had not considered in my life in so long, that I just didn't know I wanted it until it was offered.
I love how confronting it is, because it's so not a part of our societal vernacular. And so it does offer one of those, you know, manufactured opportunities for awareness. Like, oh, this is something I'm presented with that I'm not typically presented with. How do I feel about that? You know, is it something that I want, or I'm a heck no to, or what parameters would I put around it for me to be a yes? So I do love that it creates a space for simply just for awareness, and it gives me an opportunity to love people unconditionally.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I want to give the group an opportunity to move on if they want to. Erica, Kim, or Liz, if you have a question or a comment, please like shout out in the text chat or shout out verbally or go on video, you would be welcome here. And Therese, is there anything that you wanted to get into today that we haven't yet?
No, not that we haven't yet. Really the ego in essence for me is such a huge context, because it's something that until I start to look at, right, there are two different parts of me and they're each having their own impact. It's easy for me to start to question why I'm not having the impact that I want. You know, gosh, I'm taking these steps and I'm working this hard, and being able to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Because I don't know the backdrop of what's running. I could be saying the same thing, using the same words, but if it's coming from my ego, it's probably going to have my ego or my trickster, it's going to have a constricting impact. Other people are going to go into resistance, feel frustrated, feel scared. If I was like, you know what, everybody, I'm getting in your bed and I'm snuggling you here, like you don't have an option. That's its own invitation, right? For resistance, and like hell you're getting in my bed, versus the invitation from essence, like from my heart to yours, I want to love you. And so ego and essence, to me, just the introduction of that blew my mind and allowed me to start choosing yes to the impact of the ways when my essence was showing up, and then letting go of the stuff when I could see that my ego was running the show. So that's the biggest piece for me. And if you take away nothing from today, you have to take that away. Just kidding.
Like just in the simple things in my day, I'm trying to be more aware of it. Like I could say the same exact sentence like you did, two different ways. And ego isn't bad necessarily, but it can be, right? And I don't want to speak for you again, but like my example that I think of is like saying a statement from victim mentality as opposed to saying it from essence. And I think like I could tell my husband, well, I'll go pick up Delaney, you know, our daughter, like, or I could say,
yes,
well, I'll go pick up Delaney, you know, like I get to spend time with her in the car, and, you know, or I'll go pick up Delaney, you know, and,
yes.
and it comes from two different, completely different places. Like here, yeah, I would love to do this, as opposed to, God, I got so many other things to do.
Yes.
I'm the busiest person in the world, as we all are, you know. And,
you too. I thought I was just
now I have to take time out of my busy day and blah 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 blah. You know, whereas they're the exact same task.
Love it. Same like the same parameters, the same circumstances, and you're choosing a different experience.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like you're just saying, oh, I'll pick up Delaney, and then you grumble the whole way to pick her up. You're like actually going, here's the frame I'm picking up Delaney with. I get to spend time with her. And does that mean you're not busy and that you don't have all these other things happening? No, it just means you're choosing this, versus the focus on, I'm so busy and I can't fit this in my schedule, and I can't believe you're gonna sit here and peel potatoes while I have to go pick up Delaney.
And the experience of the car ride then is completely different as well. Like one is me grumble, you know, in my head, you know, oh, I got all these things to do. And the other is, hey, let's sing. How was your day? You want to sing some songs? You can, you know, pick them.
Such a great example.
Yeah, windows down, sunglasses on. I mean, they're two completely different things. And I've caught myself a few times, not that I don't love picking her up, because I do, but I've caught myself a few times where I've thought there were more important things to do and I'm being pulled away, and then I would have that second and I'm like, nope, I've only got so many car rides with her. I am not walking out the door in that frame of mind. This is an opportunity to be with my daughter.
Just flip the switch.
Flip that switch, baby. And that's all it is.
Yeah. And then it becomes an easy choice, as opposed to like you trying to convince yourself, oh, Nicole, you bad mom, here you are having all of this busyness, blah, 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 right? That trickster could get a hold of that and start to have a big story behind it, instead of like, all it is in any given moment is awareness. Look, I just saw that right now I have this story of busyness. I also have this opportunity of how I want to be with Delaney. I like this one. This is where I'm headed.
So thank you for that gift.
That one makes me think of the Therese Keenest story, who is the founder of Radical Leadership, and we call it the I Love Red story, because that phrase pops into my head so often when I'm about to make that kind of decision and choice. So Therese Keenest loves cars, and she had this nice Lexus convertible that got a little ding in it, and from a tiny little fender bender. So she brought it in to the shop, and they gave her a rental car, right? So she goes to pick up her rental car, and the guy behind the desk hands her the keys. And as she hands him the keys to this beautiful, shiny Lexus convertible that she loves to bip around in, he passes her the keys and says, "Your car's right out there." And she turns around and looks, and it's this tiny little red Geo, tiny little car that has no get up and go, right? I don't know if you've ever driven a Geo before, but it's a comical experience. And to Geo drivers, I love ya. She turns around and hands him the keys back and says, "Do you happen to have anything else?" And he goes, "No, ma'am, that's it." So she grabs the keys back and says, "I love red." And she said the experience of driving that car was so much different for that week she had to drive the car, when she chose, "I love red, and I don't have a red car. I'm never going to buy a red car. I love it." Then if she grumbled and got frustrated the whole week. And you said it's in the everyday little things, right? That's an everyday little thing, but gosh, it all mounts up to, this is how I experience my life. And it becomes a big thing. It's like, oh, it's not about the large decisions or how hard you pushed yourself every day. It's or that you took a big enough goal on to try and win, but that every single day you're doing this recalibration of choice. Am I going to choose ego or essence in this moment? And to be honest, most of the time I still choose ego. It's how I'm programmed. But essence is exponential. So every time I can make that choice and shift, I feel more at peace, and I become more of an invitation for others to peace. So.
And I do believe that ego compounds as well, because in my previous scenario, I mean, imagine me walking back in the door after picking up my daughter. In those two scenarios, that could escalate.
Yes.
If I had that much of a bad attitude that whole drive, and I had the whole time I was on the triangle, Trickster was saying, you know, I have to do blah, 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 blah. Imagine me walking back in the door and how my night could have gone. I mean,
with Delaney, with your hubby, yes. Like all of it just gets, and then it goes like, it's another little mark on the wall. There's mom in a bad mood again, or mom too busy again. It does, you're right, it does compound. And the good news is essence just moves in and becomes just this, it just wipes the slate clean. One moment can just go, that's a different way of being. Now you mentioned ego is not bad or wrong. And I wanted to highlight that piece for sure, because ego is not bad or wrong. Ego is designed for survival, and we are on this planet today because we're surviving. So there is nothing wrong with it. There's nothing bad about it. All it is in awareness in any given moment, just choosing, right? Which one do I want to have in this moment? Trickster gets in and twists ego, I would say, right? The trickster gets in and twists ego, and that's where things start to go sideways. And it's no longer just about, survival with no charge. Trickster gives it a charge. But essence actually, ego lives inside of essence too. So the minute that I can breathe into, so my, you guys have heard this one time and time again, but it is an excerpt from Ralph Waldo Emerson. And this one holds up for me the juxtaposition of ego and essence very well. So Ralph Waldo Emerson in 1842, I don't know, that's a technicality, wrote this in The Oversoul. What we commonly call man, the eating, drinking, planting, counting man, does not, as we know him, represent himself, but misrepresents himself. Him, we do not respect. But the soul, whose organ he is, would he let it appear through his actions, would make our knees bend. When it breathes through his intellect, it is genius. When it breathes through his will, it is virtue. And when it flows through his affection, it is love. And so that second half of Ralph Waldo Emerson's excerpt there, where he says, when it breathes through his intellect, it is genius. There's nothing wrong with intellect. That's where I would put that in the ego category, right? But when it breathes, when essence breathes through it, it transforms into genius, right? When it breathes into affection, it transforms into love. So being able to, in any given moment, just use awareness to go, which one am I living out of in this moment? And what's the impact I want to have? No should, have to, ought to. Just, I get to choose. And that feels like freedom and aliveness to me.
I hear you say ego is not bad or wrong, but and I'm closer to it than ever, but for a long time, I did see essence good, ego bad. Mm-hmm. Not that I didn't want ego to like measure and count and, when ego showed up, I felt like I was doing it wrong. And then it became a crazy like guilt and shame for showing up wrong, like beating myself up.
You know better.
Yes.
We call that trickster on trickster. Right? That the trickster showed up and was running somewhere, and then the trickster gets involved, beating you up for letting it into the house in the first place. Yeah, and it's not an uncommon experience, right? Because we live inside of this paradigm in this society where good and bad is how we label things. We have this dualistic experience of the world. And there is nothing either good or bad except for how I make it, right? What my thoughts make it so. Yeah. And so the minute I start judging, or the minute I take things personally, then I start to title it as bad. The way I'd rephrase it is, right, since I am always having impact, just is it the impact that I want to have? If I title it as bad, I start to go into resistance to it. And then because and in coaching, we have this phrase, what we resist persists and grows stronger, because I am now giving it thought and energy in my resistance. So I am actually validating that it is a real thing when I go into resistance to it, instead of just like looking at it and going, interesting, let it go. And so essence just chooses, like, I want more of what I want, instead of, oh, whoops, that was an impact I did not intend. Like, oh, I showed up here in a spin this morning because I couldn't find the right link to join you. I apologize. That was an oopsie. But it'll never be more than just a like, oops, I'm so sorry. I created an impact that I didn't want to have. Clean it up and move.
Like it. Yeah. So, Radical Leadership retreats, I've been, Nicole's been, you've got a couple coming up this fall.
We have one in mid-September and one in late October after EP.
Both of them in Minnesota?
Yes, both are in Minnesota, September 9th through 11th and October 28th through 30th.
Awesome.
Yes. And I'd love, love, love to have you there. I don't snuggle during RLs because I usually sneak in as much sleep as possible. But if you had a special request, I could probably find it in my heart.
That's so funny. So the Radical Leadership Retreat is a 3-day retreat with a small group of people, you, a facilitator, and you share the tools of radical leadership, and we all get to play with them.
I like that. I love that because it's our radical leadership is designed for offering structures and tools for people to go out and leverage them. And I still get emails from people that went to Radical Leadership 12 years ago, that went to Radical Leadership 10 years ago, and then they can point back to places in their life that have transformed as a result. Looking back and going, my life doesn't look nearly the same as when I first attended, not because Radical Leadership did anything bizarre inside of their life, but because they started to wake up and choose differently.
Yeah.
And gosh, I mean, like if we can offer that to people, I mean, that's what keeps me bipping along every single day. It's like, I'll do that. I'll do that. Yeah. Thank you.
So we've got just about 10 minutes left on the hour. Any requests from our guests? Nicole, is there anything in particular that you want to do?
Dance break?
Do we have music or do we just... Bob sets an alarm on his phone every single morning, and usually Kira's awake by the time the alarm goes off, but it's a little ditty song. So then sometimes I walk up like right as the alarm goes off, and they always have a dance break whenever the alarm goes off. So Bob and Kira will be just like grooving in the kitchen.
Adorable.
It's pretty cute. Pretty cute.
I do want to mention Therese and Nicole will be speaking at Exposure and Profit in October in Atlanta. So tickets are on sale for that. And then I want to talk about our upcoming events. They're still so far away. Dang it. But we have the next event we have is Beach Condo. Man, Therese, I really think you probably do need a week in Florida in February.
Probably.
That's the first week of February. Nicole and I have got condos, 4 different condos. So we are inviting people to come and snowbird with us for a week with a laid-back schedule of masterminding and adventuring and just soaking up each other's lives. And we're so blessed. So I know so far that we're going to be spending time with Elaine Allen, Candace Davis, Raven Monique, and Marusha Murphy.
Ooh.
I felt Therese kind of go.
Yeah, all of them. I want to be okay. Well, yeah.
So the cool thing about the condos is that I'm the lemur condo.
I'm the sloth condo.
So if you don't mind me jumping around, leaning on your shoulder, making strange noises, then you can come hang out in the lemur condo. If you're looking for a little more laid-back experience, you want to go to the sloth condo. There's 2 other condos that will get filled up, and they'll have a similar mellow vibe, super active vibe. Because when you're spending a whole week together, I mean, Nicole does room with me sometimes, but, I'm usually talking from morning, noon till night.
I'm a good listener.
For a few days, that's okay. A whole week, that might put our patience to the test. But I would love to talk with you about being part of Condo. So reach out to me if you would like to have a conversation about that.
And you will have your own room, and most will have either a private or shared bathroom, but the bathroom would only be shared with one other person for showers.
Yeah.
So, and it's all on the Gulf of Mexico, so we're right on the beach. Yes. Granted, in February we might not be on the beach, but we can look at it. It'll be pretty, and there shouldn't be snow.
You're right. And next up in March is the beach house retreat, and we do have 1 single bed available for that. So if you want to talk about coming and spending 3 whole days with us, more intense masterminding. I mean, we rest, we enjoy the beach, but it's a little more, we've only got 3 days together, so we pack it in with goals, roadblocks, and planning. And for that event, do you want to know who you'd be hanging out with? Let's see if I can remember it. Karen Thaxton, Cindy Bidar, Tanya Sutherland, Angela Wills, Michelle Muir, Bellany DeShong, Val Selby, Christina Lemmy. Am I missing? Elaine Allen. Elaine Allen.
Okay, I'm like, I was pulling it up because I don't want anyone to feel left out.
Elaine Allen is doing both. There may be, I don't think I'm forgetting anybody, but it's possible. I was like mentally thinking about who are roommates.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
All the windows popping up on me. Okay, there, I'm back.
So, but there is still a bet where you're a roomie with another person, and it's such a great group. Oh, and Jessica LaRue, duh.
Oh, of course.
Duh.
She's our co-facilitator.
Jessica.
And then after that, the first weekend of May is beach camp, which is on Daytona Beach. And we have Angela Wills is coming to speak. Raven Monique is coming to speak. We've got workshops planned with several people. Candace Davis, who spoke last year, is going to come back and do a workshop. Tracy is going to do a workshop about implementing PLR. There's another workshop. You guys probably wouldn't recognize the name, but we're continuing to work that out.
And we have both rooms, right?
Yes.
Yes. So, well, for the workshops, we have actually 2 rooms available with a curtain between them. So we'll be able to do more fun things, and I'm really excited.
So tickets are on sale for that. If you guys have any questions about anything to do with Beachpreneurs events, just give me a shout. I would be happy to get on the phone and talk with you about it. So
Thank you for having me today. It was fun being with you.
thank you for making the time.
Yeah. Of course. Anytime.
I'm so glad that we had you on, Therese. I was missing you.
I
And I didn't
missed you
know all
guys
that
too.
stuff was going on with you.
Well,
It's all in the
August is a new month.
And it's in the rearview mirror soon.
Yep. The final joke of it is that basically I had redone all the parts in my house except for my master bedroom. So
Yes.
I might have been calling that lightning in. I don't know. Whoops. Love you guys. Love you, Beachies.
Love you too.
Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.